The story of going from grass to grace is a relatively common one, at least among the millionaires and billionaires who crawled through the ups and downs to reach the top. And Mark Cuban isn't much different. Like most successful people who didn't have the luxury of daddy's money, their overnight success involved decades of hard work, resilience, and 1 or 2 nights on a friend's couch. So let's look into Mark Cuban's overnight success. A man who went from flipping baseball cards to buying a whole basketball team on a whim.
Was it a dream of yours to own an NBA team?
No, hell no. It wasn't, yeah.
The year is 1970, and a 12-year-old boy is watching his father play poker with some friends in the neighborhood. He wants a new pair of shoes, so he asks his father for it. His father, Norton Cuban, an automobile upholsterer and a working-class man who does his best to provide for his family, had bigger problems.
He worked six days a week, left at 7:30 in the morning, got back at 6 or 7 o'clock.
Although his father wasn't ready to buy him a new pair, that was the day 12-year-old Mark Cuban got his first offer and his first job. He was born in 1958 to Norton Cuban and Shirley Feldman and grew up in a working-class neighborhood in Pittsburgh. Looking up from the poker game, his father's friend spoke up and said,
I got a job for you. I'm like, what? He goes, I've got these boxes of garbage bags, and you can go sell them around the neighborhood. And I'm like, cool.
And that was the start of his sales career. The young boy would proceed to go from door to door, practicing and perfecting his sales pitch. And in no time, a full-fledged business was born with all the boxes checked. Sales, repeat customers, and weekly profits.
It cost me $3 for a box of 100. I would sell them for $6, and I would just take them to them every couple of weeks, right? Whenever they needed more garbage bags, and I'm making $20 a week.
All that selling taught the future billionaire and Shark Tank personality a thing or two about life. But business deals weren't the only thing in his heart.
Playing ball when I was a kid, I was good because I was taller than most kids up until about 6th grade.
And he clearly loved basketball. Sadly, his time on the pitch didn't last long because while he was good, he wasn't about to be the next Mike Jordan. And Mark had a personal principle. If you have to do it, be the best.
You got to have something that you're good at. And if you're gonna do it, you gotta be the best at it.
He might not have been the best on the pitch, but he was the best at hustling. So that's what he did.
Yeah, like I was selling baseball cards, right? And I'd go down to the park where we would play pickup or whatever. There would be this bench that was there, and I would just sit there and repackage baseball cards. And I'd say, okay, there's definitely one Pittsburgh Pirate in one of these, right? You might get Roberto Clemente, you might get Willie Stargell, and I'd mark them up and make some money. And
although it was a humble beginning, trading coins and stamps just weren't enough for the young boy to get his billionaire future. He needed something more. And that something more came in the form of education. Being Mark, the guy who likes to do things differently to save time, he basically dropped out of high school to get into college.
And applied to Pitt and took these 2 classes at night when I was a junior. And it was like a psychology class and another class, I forget. And I got like a B in them. So now all of a sudden I was at Pitt, right?
He got into the university through a high school equivalency exam, taking advantage of the University of Pittsburgh's external studies program. Yet that also wasn't cutting it, so he left the University of Pittsburgh after 1 year to attend Indiana University because Indiana had the cheapest tuition of all the top 10 business schools at the time. Why stick around in just any university when he can get into the best at a fraction of the cost? And that drive to save time and money while trying to be the best got him the Dallas Mavericks. But to fully understand his journey from trading cards to owning the team, we need to digress yet again.
get together with one of my Indiana buddies, Todd Wagner. And one day he's sitting down, it's late 1994, early 95, and he's like, look, this new internet thing, there's gotta be a way that we can use it to...
The year is 1995. Mark Cuban is a 37-year-old millionaire who moved to Dallas, Texas in the 1980s. He worked as a bartender, founded a company called MicroSolutions, worked in sales, provided software integration and resale services, and finally sold his company to CompuServe for $6 million. He's sitting across from his friend and partner Todd Wagner, and he's thinking, what is the best way to use the brand new tech called the internet? That brainstorming session produced yet another basketball-related thing that shot Mark from being a millionaire to being a billionaire. They named it AudioNet.
Well, I bought a Packard Bell computer, put it in the second bedroom of my house, connected a radio to it, and we just started working with different software.
It's no surprise that the not-so-young Mark Cuban would have supported the Indiana basketball team. So he asked himself, although he wasn't there anymore, how could he keep up with their games and scores from Dallas? Was there anyone else like him who was looking for the same thing he wanted? How can the internet help?
I set up a VCR, an old school VCR, next to their radio station. I would record it, take the VCR tapes, encode it, put it on a server in the second bedroom of my house.
And his salesmanship kicked in. Using emails, he would spend hours telling people about this new website that allows them to listen to Dallas sports. The result?
Blew up immediately.
From there, AudioNet became Broadcast.com, the YouTube of early sports streaming. They did everything from radio to video from one coast to the next. Pretty soon, Yahoo came in and bought Broadcast.com for a massive $5.7 billion. Here's how he spent his money. He bought a massive property worth $12 million, a private jet worth $40 million, and finally, tickets to a basketball game. Yep, because even billionaires enjoy watching basketball. It was the 1999-2000 season opening night, and Mark, along with his girlfriend, decided to enjoy a Dallas Maverick opening game.
It was opening night, and the place wasn't sold out, and this was in the old Reunion Arena, and I'm like, I can do a better job than this.
So he puts his money where his mouth is. He reaches out to a couple of mutual friends, before finally meeting with the real estate billionaire Ross Perot Jr., who agreed to sell the Mavericks for $285 million. By early 2000, Mark Cuban owned his first NBA team, and he did do better. By 2001, the Mavericks would, for the first time in their franchise history, make it to the NBA Finals. They would then win their first division title since 1988 in 2006, and go on to win the NBA championship, defeating the Miami Heat in 6 games. Mark's story is nothing short of legendary. He proved that not only could he make bold business moves, but he could also transform a struggling Dallas basketball team into a championship contender. And he did it all in his own way.
When I bought the Mavs, owners just like stood on the sidelines, wrote the checks. Everybody told me to shut up. And I was like, no, I'm just going to be myself. I'm going to do my thing.
From a 12-year-old salesperson to a 19-year-old entrepreneur, to Pittsburgh University, then Indiana, to a software salesperson, to Micro Solutions, to a millionaire, to Broadcast.com, to a billionaire, and finally, the owner of the Dallas Mavericks. Mark Cuban has shown that being able to identify opportunities, take risks, and leverage one's passion can send him or her to the very top. Focus not on selling, but on helping people solve a problem. Then, do it better than anyone else. It doesn't matter where you're coming from, or if you'd rather wear a t-shirt to a basketball business deal worth hundreds of millions. This has been Mark Cuban, from flipping baseball cards to buying a whole basketball team on a whim.